Names in pro wrestling.
What's your name?
Vanessa.
What's your real name?
It can get confusing at times, with very few people in pro wrestling using their actual given name, and some wrestlers changing their name several times over the course of their career. It can even make a YouTuber question himself about who he is talking about sometimes. So, here's 5 names in pro wrestling used by more than one wrestler. It's not all of them, just 5 of them. Number 1, Richard Blood. You could say I have a special connection to this one. Most wrestling fans today know Ricky Steamboat's real name is Richard Blood, and he started his career using that name in the AWA, often being billed as Dick Blood.
No!
Yep. In 1976, he went to Florida, and promoter Eddie Graham wanted to bill him as a relative to Sam Steamboat, changing his name to Ricky Steamboat. In April 1977, another young wrestler named Merced Salas left Florida for the Georgia territory, where he began using the name Richard Blood. Of course, that wrestler went on to be better known as Tito Santana in the WWF. So, for the love of all that is holy, both Ricky Steamboat and Tito Santana used the name Richard Blood. Santana even used it working in the same territory as Steamboat when they were both in Mid-Atlantic in the late 1970s. And they are not the only ones to use that name. In the early 1980s, a jobber in World Class also used the name Richard Blood, with perhaps his most notable match being against world champion Ric Flair. That Richard Blood would be known as Tommy Wright through most of his career. Number 2, Chris Adams. Ask any world-class fan who Chris Adams is, and 100% of the time they will tell you it's the man from Rugby, Warwickshire, England. Gentleman Chris Adams is a rarity in pro wrestling, rising to fame using his real name, the only name he used in his career. Well, other than that one time he appeared as the Masked Avenger to trick Jimmy Garvin. The wrestler that gave us the super kick had his best years in World Class, appearing in the main event as both a heel and a babyface, and holding the WCWA World Championship. But he is not the only Chris Adams. In December 2006, Chris Williford from Angleton, Texas, debuted in the Booker T-owned Pro Wrestling Alliance using the name Chris Adams and got a pretty hard push. Dad Adams made it to the finals of a tournament to crown a new PWA heavyweight champion in his rookie year. He would later change his name to The Pride, the name he used until the end of his career in 2017. Also in 2017, another Chris Adams popped up in England working for Forefront Wrestling. Hotshot Chris Adams only wrestled 5 years, but spent almost a year of it as half the Southwest Wrestling Tag Team Champions with Chris Bronson. Adams' final match in 2022 was losing the tag team titles. Number 3, Steve Austin. Insert broken glass sound that WWE would probably copyright claim here. Stone Cold Steve Austin already had a decent career behind him when he broke out the Stone Cold persona in the late 1990s. Prior to that, Austin appeared as the Ringmaster and as Stunning Steve Austin, but it was Stone Cold that made him a legend in the business and a 6-time WWF champion. It might surprise you to know the Steve Austin everybody remembers is not the only Steve Austin, and no, the other guy didn't steal it from this guy. On December 6, 1984, a wrestler used the name Steve Austin for his first and only World Wrestling Federation match in Vancouver, British Columbia, a loss to Moondog Spot. That Austin went on to use the name in Vancouver All-Star Wrestling over the next year, and again when he appeared in the Pacific Northwest in 1988. The fact is, this wrestler used a lot of names in an 11-year career, including Ray Evans, Star Rider, Steve Winters, Steve Starr, Ray Austin, Nature Boy Austin, Bounty Hunter, and Lance Idol. As Idol, he actually spent 3 weeks as half the Stampede Wrestling International Tag Champions with Chris Benoit. For the record, his real name was Steve Schumann. Number 4, Buddy Roberts. Most people know Buddy Roberts was part of the Fabulous Freebirds through the 1980s, teaming with Michael Hayes and Terry Gordy in the legendary unit that gave us the Freebird role for 3-man teams. Prior to his time as a Freebird, Roberts appeared using various names like Dale Valentine, Dale Roberts, and Buddy Smith. But once he became Buddy Roberts, there was no going back. Roberts' name was well enough known you'd think nobody else would dare use it, but somebody did, at least briefly. An indie wrestler primarily using the name Buddy Valentine used various names in his sporadic 9-year career. Valentine was also known as Buddy Vale, Buddy Valentino, Buddy Austin, Red Scorpion, Russian Assassin, and for one night as Buddy Roberts for Florida-based International Championship Wrestling Alliance. The one-time appearance may have just been a name selected at random, or possibly hoping to fool somebody into thinking the Freebird would be making an appearance at the indie show. Using the name Buddy Valentine, he would go on to job in WCW in the mid-1990s, even making an appearance on Nitro as Buddy Valentino, and tagging with Greg Valentine. Number 5, Steve Williams. Dr. Death Steve Williams had a solid career through the 1980s and 1990s, particularly the Mid-South Territory and UWF, playing on his real-life athletic accomplishments at the University of Oklahoma. Known as one of the strongest and toughest wrestlers of his era, Williams appeared as both a babyface and a heel over the course of his career. Jim Ross's favorite wrestler held various different tag championships with partners like Ted DiBiase, Mike Rotunda, and Terry Gordy, all while using his real name and his real history. Another wrestler with the real name Steve Williams began his career in the late 1980s, wrestling his first 4 matches in Dallas for the USWA using that name. An appearance in Memphis led to Dutch Mantell telling him he would have to change his name because Dr. Death Steve Williams was wrestling in Memphis. When the young wrestler couldn't think of a name, Mantell renamed him Steve Austin. Yes, the Steve Austin that would go on to be best known as Stone Cold Steve Austin was really named Steve Williams. At least Mantell didn't name him Star Rider. Well, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at 5 wrestlers who shared a name, even if for a short time. If you'd like to see more 5 Things videos, you can click on the playlist on the end screen, or check out one of the other videos on the channel. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe, not necessarily in that order, and I will see you next time.